хай півгодинцями в колу, що в посадці сидить Запорізький. Коли бороду свою вичешуєш, перед тим як запостить про збір, ти згадай Василя мінометника. Йому важче, чим тобі, повір, йому важче, чим тобі, повір.
Hi rollers. Remember the Mykola infantryman. Remember the Vasil Minometnik, the mortar cannon man. It is harder for them than for you. That's what he is singing about. With more details, with a lot of cool, like, I don't know how to call them. But it's about those who are, you know, getting through so much shit every day that even if we work as, I don't know who, he says, even if you work in like steel production, it's harder for the mortar cannon Vasil than for you. Mortar cannon? No, mortar man Vasil than is for you. Big prison wipe in that music video. But it's you know, nothing like nothing prison in the lyrics. It's all about living in trenches and constantly being, you know, constantly having a shitstorm of everything. FPVs, mortars, you know, not even being able to get out of your dugout and needing to piss into the bottle. So that's basically what this song about. Crazy song, and it is always reminding us to remember about those people and remember that despite how hard it is for us, it is fucking, you know how many times, you probably don't know how many times harder it is for them. It is always going to be harder for them because they live in crazy shit show that is called war. And they are on the very front line. Usually infantryman Mykola, I think, is the main character of this music video and the song too. And meanwhile, Philip, please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself, about your experience. And it's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Rick. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Well, I am a correspondent at the Daily Beast, based in New York. The Daily Beast is based in New York, but I work from Nigeria. And in the last about 6 years, I have focused much of my reporting as a journalist on the activities of the Russian Wagner Group, and now its successor, the African Corps, as these Russian paramilitaries like to call themselves. And I have documented over 100 human rights abuses by Russian paramilitaries deployed across Africa, particularly in West and Central Africa. Won a couple of awards, including the Jaime Brunet Human Rights Prize in 2022 and the won World Media International Journalist of the Year Award 2023. So that's a little bit about myself.
I will also, I'll ask Philip for, when it has started for you, all of this.
Oh, it's going to be my question as well.
You see, I'm stealing your question. Yeah. So Philip.
Okay. Yes, it all started in 2018, around July, or let's say August 2018, after 3 Russian journalists traveled to the Central African Republic to investigate the activities of the Wagner Group. At the time, I had barely even heard about the Wagner Group. Unfortunately for these 3 Russian journalists, they were killed near a town called Sibut in the central part of the Central African Republic. And till this date, no one has owned up to the killings of these journalists. But all accusing fingers at the time, and even till date, fell and is falling on the Russians, the Wagner Group, because these journalists had gone to the Wagner base in Bangui, that's the capital of the Central African Republic. And after speaking to a couple of Wagner paramilitaries, they decided to go, northwards to see how Wagner troops were deployed in that part of the country. Sadly, they were killed. And my editor at the time, Christopher Dickey at the Daily Beast, reached out to me and asked if I could look into the activities, what these journalists were up to in the days leading to their demise. And I had not done any story on the Central African Republic before then. But luckily, I had friends whom we attended school together from the Central African Republic. Um, we schooled here in Nigeria, and a couple of persons I met when I did a program in Montreal in Canada. So I reached out to them and said, do you have contacts in the armed forces of the Central African Republic? So I can ask them a few questions about the death of this Russian journalist. So that was what I did at the time, reached out to contacts, and they put me through some people in the Central African Republic who told me a little bit about the Wagner Group, the operations of the Wagner Group, and a little bit about what they knew about these journalists who were killed while trying to investigate the Wagner Group. But after I wrote that story, it wasn't just me. The Daily Beast also brought in the Russia correspondent of the Beast, Anna Nemtsova, who was very good friends with these three journalists. And we came up with a very good report that was one of the most read stories on the Daily Beast site. So the fact that the story went viral made me believe that there was something about this group or something about this report that people were interested in. So I took it upon myself to continue from where these three journalists stopped. I decided going forward, I will look deeply into the activities of the Wagner Group. And that's how it began. And today I have spent about, let's say, about 6 years really digging into the Wagner Group, and the African core is a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
So many
I
questions,
think
but
for
Jana
me,
should
like,
ask them.
yeah, the thing for me that's interesting is like, so I'm 30. Okay, so when there was the war going on in the DRC and Congo, that was like I was in high school and in primary school and high school when that was going on, and I had some friends in school who were refugees from there coming in and everything. So for me, in my mind, like the DRC and Congo is always like this. It's a scary place, because in my mind that was what I grew up with. Um, and then for me, like you're going there. I'm like, what? That's crazy. yeah.
So yeah,
So yeah.
well, I was born and raised in Nigeria,
Mm,
and later on, in 2009, Nigeria began to face a crisis in the northeast with Boko Haram and the
yeah.
insurgency. So I remember going to Maiduguri a couple of times. Maiduguri is the birthplace of Boko Haram, and people were like, "What are you doing in Maiduguri? It's so dangerous." But I didn't know how dangerous it was in Maiduguri until one day I came very close to being captured by Boko Haram Boko Haram insurgents. Yeah. So much later, I started to focus a lot more on reporting what Boko Haram is doing. So perhaps I think I had a test already
Yeah.
reporting from in
Yeah,
Nigeria.
you were like, I tried it at home ground. Now I know how
Yeah,
to export this
uh,
bravery elsewhere.
but then I'm not sure I'll be doing so much of that anymore going forward. Last year, I was in the Central African Republic in December. I traveled by road from Cameroon. I got across the border into the Central African Republic. Now, I couldn't fly to Bangui, the capital, because I had been told in 2022 by some of my contacts in the Wagner Group. And these contacts are not the Russians, they are the Central African rebels who were later brought into the Wagner fold by the Russians. So, unfortunately for these local recruits in the Wagner Group, they left after not being paid by the Russians for a couple of months, and after also not receiving the promises that the Russians had promised them, including taking them to Moscow on training. So when they left, I was able to contact them in Cameroon, and they told me that they had been given orders by their Russian commanders that whenever I'm seen in Bangui I should rather be arrested or even killed. There was a reason why I couldn't fly to Bangui last year. So I had to go by road from Douala in Cameroon. I got across the border into Beloko in the Central African Republic. Unfortunately for me, when I went the following day from the small guest house I was lodging in, when I went back to the border to interview artisanal miners who were fleeing from conflict areas in the Central African Republic to Cameroon, this pickup vehicle drove straight to where I was. And once they got there, about 4 Central African soldiers came down the vehicle, and one of them held me on my waist and began to drag me. And while I was struggling and trying to get off their hold, I saw 2 Russian paramilitaries encouraging them, in fact, even giving them orders to make sure that I get to the small military outpost that the Russians were operating. So they eventually took me to that small outpost, and then they detained me inside a small container that had a very small window. So I was there until the following morning, and all the hours I was there, I was tortured, beaten, and hit with all manner of weapons that they had. Luckily for me, the motorcyclist who took me to the border to do the interview saw what happened, saw how I was arrested, and he ran to a friend of his who is a little bit superior to the officers who arrested me. So it was this friend of the motorcyclist who pleaded on my behalf, that I should be released. So I was released, but they didn't give me back my equipment. That's my phone and my camera. So since the incident last year, I don't think I want to return to the Central African Republic anytime soon because of, obviously it's a little unsafe. And I was lucky because I don't think the people who arrested me knew who I was. If they knew it was the same guy whom their superiors at the time had told them, to arrest or kill me, I don't think I would have come out alive. Yeah, I was lucky. Yeah.
And for how long have you been detained there?
Overnight, just for about 12 hours or so, or less than 12 hours. Something close to 12 hours, yeah.
So they were trying to get some information from you, right? What are you doing here? What are you investigating?
Yes, but I didn't mention that I was a journalist.
Uh-huh.
No, I didn't. It was obvious that I was not a local because I look a little different in terms of, here in Africa, you could still tell the difference between with West African or with Central African or with Southern African if you are very vigilant, if you understand how we look.
If you
So it
know
was
the
obvious.
culture, yeah. If you're a local from Africa, you can tell. Like, yeah.
And even my accent, my accent is very different from the local. So them, yeah, I was a foreigner, but I told them that I came there on my own, and which of course I went to the Central African Republic on my own, and I had barely even started, I barely even started interviewing these miners when I was arrested. So I was still trying to sort out my equipment. I had zipped my bag to take out my phone, and then the soldiers arrested me. So they didn't even see me do anything before arresting me, and which was very, very, very much unfair. So I told them, yeah, but I didn't mention that I was a journalist, and I think that helped me a lot because if I mentioned that I was a journalist, I probably would have been killed, or who knows?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that sounds
That's
very dangerous,
crazy.
and sounds very lucky that you escaped.
Yeah,
And that,
Yeah.
that's correct, Rick.
Like,
Very lucky.
yeah, really. Okay. I since we have the common enemy, I am curious if Wagnerites have the presence in Nigeria. Do they have it
Well,
there?
officially, no. Openly, no. So what we don't know, or what I don't know, is if they're working secretly. If I take you back to 2014, there were Russian paramilitaries working in Nigeria in the fight against Boko Haram. I'm not even too sure from which PMC, whether it's from Wagner or any other, or Reddit, or I'm not sure. But I know that at some point they were involved in the fight against Boko Haram, but that was in the past. So currently, if there's anyone from Wagner or any from the Russian MOD, that's the Ministry of Defense, or any of the PMCs, I'm not aware of that. But I seriously doubt that that's happening, because the much I know is that in Nigeria's efforts to get the Northeast rid of terrorists, Nigeria of recent have been using mostly its local forces. Yeah, so I don't want to believe that they're working with the Russians secretly. No.
Okay.
I know that, and I saw the question in chat as well. And it's something you brought up on your Twitter a while back when Assad left Syria, and you post the question. You post it was like a question of like, where are these Russians going now? Because they're either going to Africa or they're going to Ukraine.
Yeah.
But where they're going to cause trouble, you know? And I was kind of looking at, I'm going to be honest with you, I was looking at them going away. I'm like, can't you just keep them there and put them in prison? Like, just like, Syria, come on, guys, come on, we don't need them. You know?
Yeah, to be clear, there are about yesterday, right from I think Friday, we saw in the news that so many Russian paramilitaries, and including Russian soldiers, were departing Syria. And the video clip that I shared on X and on Blue Sky showed a convoy of, as the reporter in that clip said, of more than 150 vehicles. That's a Russian convoy of about 150 vehicles departing Syria. And the next question one will ask is, where are they going to? Will they be deployed in Ukraine's Donbas region? Or will they eventually end up in Africa, where Russian paramilitaries have been deployed in the Central African Republic, Mali, Niger, and even Burkina Faso as we speak? So it's a very, very useful question, and I really want to get answers. But it may take time before we know exactly what the situation is. But yeah, you asked that, can they not be arrested?
Yeah, like just keep them there. Come on, we know they committed war crimes. Come on, Syria, just keep them there. You know?
But you don't want to be fighting with Russia with Russian television. Man, that's
Like,
what
I don't want them coming
thinking.
to Africa. I don't want them going to Ukraine. Just keep them there.
I also have seen yesterday in the news that they were spotted in Libya. They appeared, like some of their planes were landing on air bases in Libya. You know that Russians are present there, and they're probably going to be focusing all their forces there, but it might be just like a first step, first station, not station, station of that Ruski Mir Express. Just first in Libya, then maybe move somewhere else, maybe to multiple places. But actually, why Syrians are not arresting them? The problem is that I actually am struggling to pronounce that name of the forces.
Let's use the abbreviation.
HTS. HTS. They are sponsored by Turkish, right? By Turkey. And Turkey is unfortunately an ally of Russia. And even though they decided that Russians are not going to have, Assad is not going to have his regime in Syria, they still are not letting the HTS attack Russians, even though people of Syria want to attack them and they don't respect them. And I think they will never forget the war crimes that Russians have committed there. They basically committed genocide, just the same one that they are committing in Ukraine. They were bombing cities, they were using chemical weapons and killed hundreds of thousands of Syrians together with Assad and his forces. And it's so unfortunate to see that they are just letting them go. And it's what Erdogan is not very respected by many Ukrainians. They all know that they are committing war crimes, but some leaders like him, some governments like Turkish government, they are willing to let them go with these crimes and to go unpunished, and they just don't care because we can keep working together with them, and we have no principles. Just like Israel keeps having contacts with Russia and not confronting them ever, just because they don't have principles. No, basically no values. Same as US, not so much values, to be honest.
Yeah, you bring up a very thing, because I think diplomacy is such a weird thing.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird, because I mean, even if you look at like America's relationship with Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
okay, that is like they literally killed journalists in their embassy. But America's like,
Yep.
you know what? We kind of need them,
Yeah.
And I think Turkey is really good at playing both sides.
It's very
And
unfortunate.
Yeah.
sorry, yeah?
Go ahead, Jana. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
like
Jana.
Turkey is really good at playing both sides, and because they are, such an important partner in NATO and have control of the Bosphorus Strait and everything, you can't really piss them off. But at the same time, they know they're in that position of power, so they're like, we can kind of do what we want with whoever we want.
Yeah.
And I think diplomacy is such a
Dirty
and politics
thing,
is such a
okay? Let's call it as it is. It's
call it
dirty. It has no
Really?
purity and no basically no principles. Like you can deal with war criminals, with regimes, if it suits your country. If you have some benefits.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate. I don't like how
Is
it
it
works in this world. What, Philip?
No, I agree with you, both you, Rick, as well. I agree with Jana. And Jana made a very important example with the Saudi situation. Jamal Khashoggi, whom I had so much respect for, was killed, and all the accusing fingers pointed at the Saudis. But the Americans are still very much, in a cordial relationship with the Saudis. And we've seen many cases between different countries, and people are looking at, nations are looking at who they hurt by the actions they take. So it's no longer about whether you punish people for the atrocities they commit. Also, it's more now about what happens if I punish a friend or an ally. Yeah.
Exactly. It's that kind of thing where I was speaking to my mom was asking me about something, and I said kind of that's the difference between being a politician and an activist or a journalist. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're an activist or journalist but activistically inclined, you're like right is right and wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether or not you like the other person. If something wrong that you believe is against international law, is done against them, whether you like them or not, that's wrong. But what you see so often in politics is kind of international law is used in a way to kind of, that's wrong. We don't like these people. What they're doing is wrong, but we'll excuse it for our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so sad. That's really sad. How are you doing with them?
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Oh, great.
Roman, Philip is from Nigeria, and he is investigating the war crimes of Wagnerite and other Russians around Africa, documenting their basically their war crimes that they're committing there. So
Wow, good and tough job, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Thank you.
At least we help you a little bit to get rid of Wagner in Africa. But there are a lot of them.
Yeah, and there's still many of them is still active here in Africa, especially in the Central African Republic and in Mali. If you want to add those two countries to Libya, so yeah, there's still a sizable amount of Russian paramilitaries active here. Yeah.
Okay.
And aren't they active in Sudan as well?
So yeah, Sudan is a very funny case because they've been offering training and weapons to the Rapid Support Forces, which is the military group fighting against the Sudanese armed forces. But only recently we found out that the Russian government, through the Russian MOD, have been backing the Sudanese armed forces. the SAF. So you have a very funny situation in Sudan. A group of Russians backing the paramilitaries, and then the government backing the armed forces. I think that's the trick that Russia uses oftentimes when they're not sure of where the victory is going to go to. Yeah, then they
No,
begin to
we're-
waste. So
yeah,
that's what we're seeing in Sudan.
yeah, it's crazy.
So I want to ask you, Philip, about the Nigerian government, president. How let's say anti or pro-Russian they are, or how neutral they are. What way they are leaning?
Well, I think the Nigerian government is pro-West.
Hmm.
We have seen a lot of um, partnerships and even meetings between President Bola Tinubu and leaders in the West. Recently, the Nigerian president was in Paris, state visit, and there were lots of collaborations and even partnerships signed on paper. And the US too have been an important partner with Nigeria, especially since President Tinubu took office in May last year. So we don't have the same situation we have in South Africa, for example. I know Jana knows this very well, where the ANC is pretty much um, of close
I mean, let's
alliance
just say
with.
Nigeria isn't part of BRICS. It's just
Yeah, Nigeria made a move to join BRICS some time ago, and we're part of the, is it what do they call them? Is it BRICS Alliance? The other group of people
yeah.
who are not members yet, but who are seeking. Yeah, but that is for the aspect of economics for business.
Mm.
And sometimes some people argue here in Nigeria that maybe BRICS may be better for Nigeria, seeing that our foreign reserves is dwindling. It's very difficult to find enough dollar to keep our exchange rate in a very healthy situation. So people argued for BRICS in that regard. But in terms of politics, in terms of diplomacy, I think we're pretty much pro-West, uh, and we're not in any way supporting what's going on in Ukraine. I think that some people in government have condemned the Russian war,
Hmm.
but there are many African countries who are pretty much pleased with Russia. Maybe not pleased with Russia's war in Ukraine, but they are good friends and doing good business with Russia. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, really, really happy to hear that. That you are pro-West. And by the way, were we helping you with grain or any food products as a country?
Oh yes, Ukraine helped the entire Africa with grain, and that's why when the war started, it became very difficult for many African countries to be able to sell grain locally, so to speak, because the supply was so little. You know, the issues in the Black Sea
Hmm.
and making it very difficult for this shipment to come into Africa. So Africa depends not just Nigeria, but almost the entire Africa. China, I want to believe the same for South Africa. They depend a lot on Ukraine for the grain that we have, for the wheat as well. So yes,
Hmm.
it's important to have.
Of course, first I said helped, but of course we're trading grain with you. But there was an initiative that is called Grain
Grain from
from Ukraine. Yeah, and it was
Yeah,
basically donated, but not by Ukraine. It's a Ukrainian grain that is bought by our partners who donate money for it and bring it to African countries as a not as a gift, but like a donation, right? Something like that, if I'm
yeah.
not
Yeah, like
mistaken.
as aid, yeah.
Eight.
It's food aid, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one thing I'm trying to do, going forward, is to try as much as I can to, bring to draw the attention of many Africans to the situation in Ukraine. And because it seems as if Russia has an upper hand when it comes to Africa, and many people are not even aware of, you know, the reason why Russia is doing what it is doing.
Yeah.
And I think Ukraine needs friends in Africa, and
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine also needs support from Africa, and that's not happening right now in the way that they should, and that's concerning. I've been trying to reach as many Ukrainians as possible to see how I could get their perspective on what they thought about Africa and how Africa and Africans could be helpful. And recently, I was in Berlin for the Truth to Justice conference where I spoke. And before I got to Berlin in Germany, I was told that Dmitry Kuleba was going to be there. So what I didn't know was that Kuleba will be joining online. So my idea was to bring people of that
Mm.
stature, together, let them talk to as many Africans as possible so that Africa get to understand what's going on. And it's very important. I think I like the fact that Jana and Rick, both of you brought me on this platform. So I can always share the link and then let people know that yes, we're working. This is one
Because at
platform
that
that's
Berlin conference, you spoke about Russia's propaganda in Africa,
yeah,
which is, I mean, and it's obviously you know how it is in the francophone countries.
yeah,
In South Africa, it's a bit more it's a bit more government sponsored.
yeah,
Not fully, but it is a bit more. And I think, yeah, that is it kind of brings up that question with what can we as Africans do to combat Russian propaganda here where we are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's something I don't have the answer to. I'm
I
like,
know what
yeah, just yeah.
First of all, Russia uses the media mostly for its propaganda, and it's all forms of media, from mainstream media to social media. So it's all forms, and the scale at which they're doing this is huge. And these days, you go to West Africa and Central Africa, you see so many media outlets, including the most prominent ones, publishing Russian disinformation because somebody has paid, excuse me, because somebody has paid some monies to someone in this outlet to publish these stories. So what I've been saying to everybody, whether it's to civil society in Africa, whether it's to ECOWAS or the African Union, and even most recently the European Union, I'm saying that it is important to bring editors, journalists, reporters, publishers all together and then let them know exactly what the Russians are up to, because not many people know what the Russians are doing. I have to be honest. And people read these articles that are being placed on African networks or on African media platforms, and then they believe hook, line, and sinker what is being said. But we need to do a lot more in educating the media here in Africa about Russia's propaganda. And that's what, personally, in a little way, I'm trying to do that on X, on local radio and TV, telling people that, look, there is an influence campaign, a campaign being carried out by the Russian Federation and aimed at swaying the the narrative and swaying the minds of many Africans towards Russia, believing that Russia is, you know, being a victim of some kind of Western, um, will I say, stabbing or so. Yeah. So we need to do more of that. And I like to see more Ukrainians engage more Africans. So because Russia is doing that. Russia has RT and Sputnik that are very much but yes, Ukraine has to create some kind of collaboration and presence as far as the media space in Africa is concerned. Yeah.
The problem is, in my opinion, that that actually you cannot. We cannot match Russia and cannot really fight their propaganda without the same amount of finances being put into the counter propaganda. We need to put a few billions of dollars every year or like every half a year into this. And where do we take this money? Not in Ukraine, definitely. Who is going to be financing it from all over the world?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I've been talking to as many people as possible from the EU to the African Union. And even when I appeared, when I was in Washington, D.C. in September, and I was in the office of quite a number of senators and members of the House of Reps. And I also appeared at Congress, I had to testify at a hearing on Russia's imperial identity. And every time I met anyone, I said the same thing. There needs to be some resources put into combating Russian disinformation,
Hmm.
period. And the funny thing is that the Russians are not spending too much money in Africa on disinformation and propaganda. They may spend so much in the West, maybe in the US or in Canada, as we saw recently, but it's not so much in Africa because some of these articles that they publish on African media, they don't pay more than the equivalent of maybe 50 to 100 US dollars. So the thing is, there needs to be efforts put in place to deal with these narratives, and which I think that is not happening at the scale at which it should. And we have only I have been privileged to attend one workshop recently in Nigeria by the Africa Center for Strategic Studies, and the workshop was
Their
about
work is amazing.
yeah, and the workshop was about informing fact checkers in Africa about Russia's disinformation campaign. So, but even at that, there were just a few fact checkers present in that workshop. So we need much more fact checkers, much more editors, much more reporters and correspondents aware of this. And the funny thing is that in that workshop, there were not too many people who were aware that Russia had a campaign that it was putting so much money into
Yeah.
when it comes to information. Yeah, so people have to be aware. And like I said earlier, I think that we as Africans need to, be in conversation with Ukrainians as much as we can, so that Ukraine there can be an opportunity for Africans to really get to the
Yeah,
side
I
of
think
Ukraine.
I think it's a combination, obviously, like collaborating with Ukraine, but I think also collaborating amongst ourselves, you know,
Yeah,
because I think that's also a big thing because there are prominent voices speaking up in different countries across the continent. It's just we are
yeah.
not as connected as we could be and work and yeah, we're all kind of working in isolation, I think.
Yeah, but
Yeah, well, yeah. I love that part. I do know that there's some effort, but I want it to be much more than
Mm.
that. The average person on social media isn't seeing too much of that. But yes, on the background, in different ways, like you said, Jana, that's happening. But it can be more. Yeah.
Definitely,
exactly.
yeah.
The quantity, that's what we lack. Russia has quantity. They have bots, millions of them. Also, these days created by AI. They have the bot media and different newspapers, right? They are buying reporters all over the world. It's what you said, Philip. You said we need more reporters, we need more advocators, but who will be paying them? That's the problem. Like, it's all about money. It's all about salaries. People will not be doing this voluntarily. They need to get the salary, and the scale of Russia is billions of dollars, and hence, I would say thousands of reporters and millions of bots. Because I think ideally we would have to fight them not only with reporters but with bots too, with
Yeah.
their own weapon. We need to create the Ukrainian bot farms and really spam the media space, because that's the only way to fight them, with their own weapon. Only like with the scale they have. You cannot beat bots with real honest people if there's not million of them. And how would you create so many, like millions of people who will be advocating for Ukraine? How will you, like paying millions of people who are advocating for Ukraine will take much more than a few, like $2 or $3 billion a year, right? It will take let's say 50 billion, and creating bots will solve this problem. So creating Ukrainian bot farms would be a cool solution, in my opinion. And Roman, what do you think about the Ukrainian bot farms?
I just think that we must do Ukraine, the EU, and all those who are lovers of Ukraine and Ukrainians. We must do everything we can to challenge what the Russians are doing on every platform, And then I've said it before that the only way to defeat Russian propaganda and disinformation is to use the same platforms that the Russians are using to counter these narratives. Yeah. So that is very important. Yeah, we must do everything we can. And
Mhm.
I think that to some extent, many people are trying. You go to social media now, you see many Ukrainians, many Westerners, and even some from Africa all coming with the same energy and the same voice, condemning what's going on. And people are really, really angry at what the Russians are doing. No one likes to see, except maybe some in Russia. But yeah, I must commend the many people, the millions of people who have all made their voices heard. And the little I'm saying is that we need to do even more. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Roman, what do you think? Do you have something to say about all of this?
Yeah, actually, I am sorry, Rick, but I'm disagree with your idea with bots.
Okay.
Nothing personal.
No problem.
But,
Just an
yeah,
idea.
really.
I'm not
Okay. So no
doing it.
offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you ask my opinion, I believe this is still about quality, not quantity. Like, okay, one of idea, yeah, we can really fight with bots, by bots against another bots. But I still believe that this is about like how to say the creative voices, the people all over the world who will be said sincerely, and I still believe that like no bots can beat the real person, like real smart person who know history, who can think critically, and who for example can do some comparison. For example, if it will be bot in Africa, Ukrainian bot, it will say something like Russian is sucks, Ukrainian is good, maybe stuff like that, for example. But if you send me to Africa to talk to people, I, for example, can tell them like some of my story, some of comparison. I could say something like, here's Ukrainian news, here's Russian news. Just make a choice. You can see both of the side and just make your own decision. So on this example, I try to explain that this is about creativity and the original way to give information to people. So in conclusion, this is about to create or to educate more real people who will talk to other like countries from Ukraine, because for example I don't like how our diplomacy working all over the world, for example with China or with India or with Africa. It's one of the reason why I just want to finally have permission to go abroad and to talk to different people, because I believe this is lack of talking, like real talking and real job with other people, not our diplomatic, which like our diplomacy, they was in India maybe only 2 or 3 times, for example. I just mentioned India because this is pretty rich country, and we can talk to them, we can be friends with them, we can spend some times and convince them that we can cooperate together, make some business, start project, and do some make some money and fight against terrorism, right? But I still don't believe that Ukrainian diplomacy do it effectively.
Yeah.
And this is about different countries, and Africa and South America, even with USA. Yeah. So this is about such people who will talk on behalf of Ukraine all over the world.
Yeah, people can do it voluntarily. Sorry, Philip. I'm quickly gonna say, but if we do it like governmentally, if diplomats do it, you also need to pay for the travels, for the stays in the hotels, for for food. All of that demands resources. Making those people let's say, go advocate for Ukraine all over the world, and it should not be like 1-2 people. It should be dozens of people, and ideally hundreds of people. It will take huge resources, and yes, I think our country, our government could prioritize the financing to those, and would be amazing. And I agree that it would be a human touch, a real explanation. Maybe sharing some experience, which you have. With Russians. You've been fighting them since 2013. And that's basically how you can do it. But still, a lot of money should be invested in this. And we need to definitely prioritize it. Philip, you wanted to say something about that.
I was looking at what Roman had said about bots. And this is where the social media companies have to be tough and have to swing into action, because if they don't do anything to clean up these bots, and then the people will can really take advantage of bot accounts are the Russians. So there has to be a lot more, either investment or either more in terms of efforts into clearing these bots, and then that's one way that Russia can be crippled in terms of its disinformation war. And having said so, I think it may be my last words for tonight. I have to join folks in a meeting soon. But feel free, guys, to always let me know if you want us to do this again. Yeah.
It would be cool. It would be cool because we
It
did
was
not
awesome to have
discuss.
you here.
We did not
Yeah.
discuss
Okay.
so many things, and yeah, it's just impossible to do in 1.5 hours, especially when you're not a
Yeah.
professional interviewer, and you talk about fundraising
We
a
should just
lot.
have Philip interview himself on the show.
Probably.
Yeah, I love the fact that I could spend 1.5 hours with here talking about the situation in Africa as far as Russian involvement is concerned, and how we can Africans and Ukrainians can work closely together going forward. Yeah, and then I think that I will have to come back and do this again.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Come back.
Totally.
yeah,
Nice to meet you,
Awesome.
yeah.
Philip.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, have a
Thanks for
wonderful
being
evening.
here.
Yeah.
You
Hello,
too.
man.
Bye bye,
Yeah.
Philip.
Bye, man. Live
Cool to
long and
see you.
prosper.
Oh, yeah. It's actually some also some kind of pretty tough stuff, because when I see how people like doing this auction of the flag with signing of the warriors who really on the front line, it's just it's just hard to understand, hard to explain, but I'll try. Every sign of this, for example, when you get this flag, some of these guys could be already dead,
Yeah.
and it's something like it's something like life creature, like it's something like in dynamic, because you can, for example, win it right now, and while it brings back the guys who signed this flag, something could happen to them, not because they live in civilian life and it was like some catastrophe, car crash or stuff like that, but they could be injured or being dead on the war, and because of this, this has become something like really live creature, because part of it could be already gone while you get it. And for some flag I saw, like all the guys who signed on them already passed away, like killed on mission. And it's so it's also you see, Rick, you know who you invited on your stream. I really like close to such things, and yeah, because I also signed in flags many times, and I don't know, unfortunately I'm still here, but many of us not still there. And I just, finally I catch what I want to say, because the point is, it's so hard to monetize such things, because it's people's destinies, it's people's life. They print it on the flag, and anything could happen to them, like any seconds.
Yeah.
And this is like something real, maybe some imprint of souls putting on the flag, and sending to people who donate. This is something. One day I'll spend like 1 month or 2 months or a year try to explain how it's from my perspective. But this is very deep connection, and this is very it's more valuable than just a flag with science. This is people's souls who ready to sacrifice everything, and it's not like possibility. It just happened every single day, every
Yeah.
single hour, to such heroes. That's why this is so valuable, and I have no word to describe how, like, how many cents put in this like simply stuff, like some soldiers sign some flag, but it has like very, very strong meaning, at
Yeah.
least for me, when I see it, because it's like story of destiny. It's like part of a soul signed on this flag.
Yeah.
Mm, this is how I feel about it.
Yeah. Very well said. And for example, there is a situation that I have this lighter here. It
Mhm.
has an encryption, El Greco, and two hammers on the back, which is the representation of Donetsk Oblast. He is from Donetsk. He's my best friend, and he gave me this lighter about, I don't know, a year ago already, and I auctioned it or raffled it. I don't know. Probably it was the auction. And it was supposed to go to Leslie Bow, and she Greg had an idea. It did not had an encryption. He said, "You know what, Leslie, put it back on the auction, and we will give you something else, some patch, some battle patch." And I promised to put it back on the auction after I improve it with these encryptions. I improved it, but never put it back on the auction, and I'm hesitating because I want to keep it for me. I want to keep it as I know that he can be killed any day, unfortunately. I realize that, and I want to be open with you. I want to keep it because I may lose him at any second, and I want to keep that part of the soul, of his soul. That's what you're talking about, and I understand completely. And I don't want to give this one up. I think I should keep it, and I better give it back to him when he comes back from war safely. And yeah, otherwise I just cannot give it to anyone. I have other things from him, but this one is special. I don't know. It is very special because he's always doing this. He's sitting and clicking the Zippo. So yeah, Roman, I completely I agree with you. What? We don't see them anymore. Shit, sorry. We lost Jana's camera. Jana, are you still there? Jana is muted.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. You
Sorry.
guys made me cry. So
Yeah, sorry. you didn't want us to see that? Like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jana.
Piet left me a flag.
Sorry. I just want to, I want people to realize what is happening here and what the reality is, because when you see people around you losing their loved ones and you lose some friends, it's you got to be here in Ukraine, and I am trying to show you the reality. Sorry if I made someone else also cry, not just Jana. Are you okay, Roman?
Yeah, I'm fine. Let me see if I can find you the flag. Pete signed a flag for me back before he joined the military. It was we fundraised for I think 30 or 30 IFACs, and it was a lot of money. Like it was like £4,000, and Alina was like, once we raised the money, Halia was like, I didn't think we were going to be able to do it. But we did. Thanks to like, I don't know if a lot of you are on Twitter, but there's like that Toonie Tuesday thing. And they, picked us for this Tuesday for that one Tuesday, and we raised that money in a week. And Pete had a flag in the blindage they were in, and he wrote my name on it with like a message about like the money I raised and everything. And he told Halia like that and a patch and everything to send to me, and Halia said she'll rather give it to me in person. So yeah, getting that when I go to Ukraine.
Yeah. So you want to show it to us now?
Yeah, I'm gonna search for it now.
Okay. Yeah. Hugs to you, Jana. So yeah, you see, Jana also lost. She lost Pete, and yeah, it's a pain.
Yeah.
Roman, are you okay?
I'm fine.
Good. Extreme gratitude, thanks to Jana Fourie, PK comms director, IFAC, £4,600 in mere days. Hasta. Yeah. So this one is in Ukraine, and you're getting it once you're here, right?
Halia's keeping it for me.
Yeah, really, really cool. I can imagine how hard you will be crying when you receive it. Much harder than you cried today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Actually, find the owner of this flag. It's exciting. It always feels like a big responsibility, pressing that button. Like, what if this random doesn't work like random? What if it works by the algorithm, And
Wow, it's so cool.
let's spin it. Let's do it. And the flag goes to number 230. Now we go to the sheet here and look for 230 and see who that is. 230 was actually Kyra H. who did not ask for the ticket. So I'm not sure if that person wants that flag, but I will message her right now on PayPal saying that she's a winner. She's donating time to time. I don't think we know who that person is in the chat and if they are active in the chat at all. But Kyra donates like once a few weeks. She donates around $10 and does it constantly. So, Kyra, congratulations if you can hear it. If you can see it or will be listening to it in recording, you're the winner. If you... And we still need to raffle the Christmas decorations. So let's begin with the Bandera bird. And let's go back to the wheel. We have the same number of tickets, so I'll just... Again, yeah. So it's going to be 4 times. We have
Magic.
4 items, yeah. Let's spin this one. It is spinning. Can you hear the sounds, by the way, of it spinning?
Yes, it's annoying sounds. Thank you.
So Bandera bird goes to number 465. It's always exciting before we know who that is. 465. Let's see. And it is Kathy S with that $9 plus $1 donation. Just imagine.
What?
Congrats.
Crazy. Like, I mean, this Bandera bird goes to you, Kathy. I am happy for you. Congrats. Let me see in the chat. I'm so excited. Thanks, Rick. I love that Bandera bird. Yeah, this one's yours. Next one. Let's do the
So
penguin.
excited.
What? Exciting, right?
Yeah, now I see. It's so cool to read the chat while Rick doing something like, I don't know, will the chair. Yeah, just...
Okay. We are raffling this penguin, not doing it, okay? Let's do it. And I'm
something new.
I'm spinning the wheel. Let's see. That annoying sound is giving us number 157. 157. Let's go see who that is. And
Man, it's like a lottery.
it is. Oh my god. David, you... This fucking Christmas miracle just happened. David from France, who is Ukraine David. Ukraine David was buying tickets for 2 weeks, screaming for this penguin. That penguin is standing there waiting for me. This one is mine. Can you imagine, guys?
Really?
Really, yeah.
Really?
He badly wanted it. It's mind blowing.
He's here? No.
Yeah, he's here in the chat, like saying no, yes.
Where? Mon ami,
Wow.
c'est une très bonne nouvelle pour toi. Mon
Oh,
ami.
you see, Roman knows French. Mm-hmm. Guys,
Wow.
yeah, David, it's crazy.
C'est magnifique. C'est magnifique.
It's like
Très, très magnifique.
when you make it, like when you visualize it, right? You can make it happen.
Yeah.
The cat. Let's do
It's
the
from Ukraine laboratory, yes?
Yeah, the
Directly.
biolab wooden unmoving cat.
It's from Ukraine laboratory. Biolab.
Biolabs.
Yeah.
American biolabs in Ukraine. What the Russian said. What the fuck said song.
Yeah.
What the fuck says. Okay. So we're going back to the wheel and I'm spinning it. And this awesome cat goes to... Come on. $470.
Call me cat. Sorry, cat.
Really close to the previous one. 471. I think, like, really super close. 471. Yeah, Laura. Laura, you're winning the cat. Laura S. I'm so happy for you. I think I already have your address, so it's not gonna be hard to send it. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Everyone for participating in this raffle, and congrats, Laura. Laura, the no is not accepted. Laura likes to re-raffle stuff. She says put it back on the raffle. So this time I'm telling you, you're taking this cat, okay? Maybe you hate orange cats. I don't know.
How can people hate orange cat? How is it possible?
Some of them hate cats, actually. Greg Terry, for example, he doesn't like cats. He told me. Yeah. How can you? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, probably I really... Whoa!
What happened?
It's 140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
140.
Time flies.
Dude. Time flies. Yeah, okay, rollers. Pleasure as always. Jana, was cool to see you
You too.
or meet you. No, met you because first time, so meet you.
Yeah.
Meet you.
You too.
Rick, yeah, as always, as usual.
Thank you.
Appreciate and thank you for inviting me on the stream. And thank you for all the people who donate on the flag, on the I don't know.
NAFA truck campaign that we have. Yeah.
No, before NAFA truck campaign, you also gathering like these birds or cats or all this
the
stuff.
toys. Yeah.
Like, yeah, for this adult toys, I wish you use it with serious purpose. and also and also, yeah, thank you for supporting our like enormously huge ambitious campaign with 3 amazing patches, which is so different. Actually, it's cool. For example, I want to make example. It was like Jake Bro's campaign, and it was only 2 patches. And actually, I was thinking to help him because I also like to help other campaign for the nation, but I can't pick the patch because I wasn't like it. Like both of them wasn't like suitable for me. But here I can see it's like for any taste.
I just
Good
needed
night.
to promote that campaign, guys. Please donate to that one. We need to raise 20,000 euros. It's almost 4 times, more than 4 times less than the NAFA truck campaign. But the NAFA truck campaign also needs to be closed. So,
Yeah.
wow. Thank you for a great stream, Jana.
It was fun. Thanks for having me. Thanks, chat. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, guys.
And Mox.
Good
Your
night.
community is like so wholesome.
It is.
Love it.
I
Yeah.
also love them. Really kind, good people. Okay, rollers. What, Jana? You go to sleep. I'll say a few
Bye.
more words.
Okay.
Good night.
Cool.
Live long
Bye.
and prosper. You're really an outstanding one. Love you all, guys. You know that. Thank you, moderators, for your great work today. You're fucking awesome, and thank you all for donating. Yeah, that's, the priority here is to raise funds, though there are a lot of other subtasks that are really cool. I really am enjoying doing that. All right, love you guys. Love you all. You please stay safe, stay healthy, and live long and prosper, and donate. And I'm looking at the camera right now. Campaign crossed 50k euro mark. Nice. I mean, the general number. And I was like, what? Did just someone donate 35,000 euros to our $90,000 NAFA truck campaign? Yeah, that is really cool. Okay, guys. Thank you. Awesome stream, indeed. Live long and prosper, and Slava Ukraini. And most importantly, Heroям Slava, guys. Thank you for watching. Please like this video, leave any comment under it, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. You can find the full stream recording. This clip was taken from here. And I invite you to join us on Rig the Ukrainian here for live streams and videos from Ukraine. Thank you, and live long and prosper.